I was born with a divine destiny, condensing a divine spark in only 3 years, yet failing to ascend 99 times in a row. The first time, the divine official said I wasn't wearing red and seized my divine spark. The second time, the divine official said I was wearing too much red and again seized my divine spark. The third time, the divine official said I wasn't 174, 9 centimeters tall, and seized my divine spark once again. The fourth time, the fifth time, the 99th time, I decided to give up ascending and started selling divine sparks in the mortal realm. I offered 10,000 taels of gold. A mere 10,000 taels of gold? How dare you hope for a divine spark? I have a millstone-sized piece of top-quality jade here, hoping the gentleman will sell me the divine spark. What gold, jade? These are but vulgar, mortal things. How can they be compared to a divine spark? Sir, I have a millennium-old Lingji mushroom. Eating it can strengthen the body and prolong life, sir. Choose me. A millennium-old Lingji mushroom is nothing. It's not even 10,000 years old. I have a South Sea mermaid pearl here. The gentleman should choose me. You, what you? Don't act generously if you have no money. You poor ghost. How dare you call me a poor ghost? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? A group of people were arguing noisily outside, and the servant girl, Xiao Lian, gently lifted the bamboo curtain and walked in. Sir, her voice was extremely soft, as if afraid of disturbing something. The rocking rattan chair stopped. I frowned slightly, but did not get up, only took off the yellowed ancient book covering my face. Sir, since the news of your selling divine sparks this time spread, the royal nobles of various countries have arrived one after another. According to Sir's view, when will this divine spark auction begin? No rush. I close my eyes slightly, my tone lazy. There's still one person missing. Who? Xiao Yin asked, puzzled. It has been nearly 10,000 years since I decided to give up ascending and sell divine sparks instead. In these 10,000 years, although Xiao Yin hasn't followed me the longest, she has seen me sell divine sparks several times. In the past, I sold divinity according to my whim, whether it was royalty or beggars on the street. As long as they could offer something that caught my eye, I would sell them divinity, giving them a chance to become immortal. It was the first time I had ever specifically waited for someone to come, like I was doing now. I didn't answer her, and placed the ancient book back over my face. The wicker chair rocked back and forth. After a long time, a breeze arose, but the wicker chair stopped rocking. She's here. This time's divinity, I want it. The voice arrived before the person. A powerful gust of wind kicked up a storm, swirling sand and stones, instantly sending the chattering crowd outside the small courtyard reeling. When the wind subsided and the dust settled, the small courtyard returned to calm, and a group of people appeared out of nowhere at the main entrance. Leading them was a woman with delicate and charming features. Where's the owner of this shop? Hurry up and come out to greet me. Her voice was arrogant, carrying the commanding tone of someone used to a high position. Who is that, daring to be so disrespectful to master? Xiao Yin frowned, feeling indignant on my behalf. Even the ruler of a country would come to my small courtyard and respectfully request an audience with me. Now this little girl from who knows where was actually telling me to come out and greet her. She certainly had a big mouth. Hearing this, I chuckled softly. Since she dares to be arrogant here, she must have a reason to be. I paused, then continued, Those few people, they're from above. From above. Xiao Yin was slightly surprised, then pursed her lips. So what if they're from above? Master, you've sent more than one person to the heavens, and none of them were this arrogant. I shook my head helplessly. This is different. How is it different? Xiao Yin asked, puzzled. Of course, it's because of their background. I didn't answer and closed my eyes again. The wicker chair rocked gently. In the small courtyard, the nobles and dignitaries who had been blown over by the fierce wind earlier had also recovered and glared at the newcomer. Who are you, daring to demand a godhood so brazenly? The chance to become immortal was right before their eyes, and even knowing that the person before them was extraordinary, No one was willing to give up easily. But the newcomer was even more tyrannical, sending a ray of spiritual light towards the speaker without another word. If she hit him, my little courtyard would see blood today. I sighed inwardly and flashed forward to block the attack. They are just ignorant mortals. Why should a mortal maiden bother with them? The person was displeased at having her attack blocked. Mere mortals, daring to question this immortal, deserve to die. Saying that, she turned to look at me. Are you the one selling the godhead? The slightly familiar face struck my mind, and even though I had expected it, my heart, which had cultivated for 10,000 years, still rippled slightly, then surged into a monstrous wave, almost devouring everything. The person before me is not an old friend, but the child of an old friend. 10,000 years ago, I was the most famous genius in this world, born with a divine destiny, destined to ascend. And I lived up to expectations, condensing a godhood after only 3 years of cultivation, waiting only to pass through the heavenly gate before I could ascend to become immortal. The night I successfully condensed the godhood, my parents and siblings all celebrated for me. And my fiancée, known as the #1 beauty, held a wine cup, her eyes seemingly filled with autumn water. Brother Xie is truly amazing. Others who can condense a godhood within 100 years are considered geniuses, but Brother Xie only took 3. I was young at the time, and hearing these words, I felt only pride in my heart. But before I could boast a few words, Lu Mingwei suddenly lowered her head and sobbed. But Mingwei is useless and unable to enter the Tao. One day, when Brother Xie ascends to immortality, Mingwei is afraid that she will die of old age in the lower realm and never see Brother Xie again. Hearing this, I suddenly realized the divide between the immortal and mortal realms. If I were to ascend to immortality now, I fear that not only would I rarely see my fiancée, Lu Mingwei, in the future, but I would also find it difficult to see my parents and siblings again. The excitement and elation vanished in an instant. For a moment, I even didn't want to ascend. Just as I was struggling, I heard Lu Mingwei sigh softly. If only Mingwei could ascend with Brother Xie. My eyes immediately lit up. Yes, besides giving up ascending, I could also try to find a way to let my parents and Mingwei ascend together. I plunged headfirst into the vast sea of books, searching day and night, trying to find a method to help others ascend. Lu Mingwei was deeply touched when she learned of this and helped me search. Brother Xie, look. One day, she excitedly called out to me, holding an ancient book, but her face changed after flipping through a couple of pages. No, I was mistaken. She looked flustered. I immediately noticed something was amiss and snatched the ancient book from her, quickly flipping through it. So that's how it is. I was both surprised and delighted. Those mortals who wish to ascend must first gather a divine spark and then pass through the heavenly gate. However, there are many mortals, and few can gather a divine spark. But if a divine spark holder is willing, they can transfer the divine spark to others. I excitedly grabbed Lu Mingwei. Mingwei, don't worry, I will definitely let you ascend. However, Lu Mingwei didn't show any joy on her face. Her eyes filled with tears. No, Brother Xie, you can't hurt yourself like this. My heart was touched, and I held her hand even tighter. It's just a divine spark. I can reassemble it in 3 years. Although I said that, I actually didn't have much confidence in my heart. After all, I don't know if a person who has lost their divine spark can reassemble it, but I have to try. Lu Mingwei was even more touched, crying as she threw herself into my arms. Brother Xie, you're so good. In the countless years later when I couldn't ascend, I repeatedly recalled her posture at that time, and suddenly understood that what she wanted to say at that time was not "you're so good," but "Xie Changsheng, you're so stupid." After that day, I followed the method in the ancient book, dug out my divine spark, and gave it to Lu Mingwei. I originally wanted her to ascend first, but she insisted on staying to wait for me, saying she wanted to ascend together. I was deeply touched, feeling I hadn't loved the wrong person. 3 years later, I reassembled my godhood, and she even found me a peerless immortal wine. Brother Xie, we can finally ascend together. Her eyes were bright, and she looked extremely happy, but I felt a great deal of guilt in my heart. I still didn't plan to ascend this time. I want to bring my parents and brothers with me. Lost in thought, I unguardedly accepted the wine she handed me. After one cup, I felt a dizzy spell. When I woke up, my dantian was in excruciating pain, and the reassembled godhood was nowhere to be found. And Lu Mingwei was standing with someone I knew extremely well, looking at me coldly. Mingwei. I was extremely puzzled. Lu Mingwei frowned in disgust. Don't call my name. You're not worthy. I was even more confused and began to reflect, wondering if I had unintentionally done something to upset her. But the next moment, I saw the person I knew extremely well, my sworn brother Feng Wuming, embracing Lu Mingwei and speaking mockingly. Changsheng, Mingwei and I have been together for a long time. She was only pretending with you, just for your godhood. Lu Mingwei looked at me with even more hatred. Xie Changsheng, I was clearly your fiancé, but all you have in your heart is cultivation. You never accompany me to travel the mountains and rivers, nor to appreciate flowers and the moon. You haven't even given me a hairpin. Xie Changsheng, I am the #1 beauty in the world. How dare you treat me so negligently? I was extremely shocked. I never knew she thought this way. Lu Mingwei had already turned around. Fortunately, now I have someone who can accompany me to appreciate flowers and the moon. Xie Changsheng, from now on, I will be immortal, and you will be mortal. In this life, we will never meet again. Saying that, the two of them, right in front of me, integrated my godhood into their bodies. A golden shining heavenly ladder appeared, and I watched helplessly as the two of them ascended. I was confused, I was bewildered, I even suspected that I had really done something wrong. But I never expected that Feng Wuming, after snatching my godhood and ascending, would also send people to assassinate me. Miss Lu is kind-hearted, but our young master doesn't want to leave any future troubles. Young Master Xie, excuse us. A group of men in black barged into my house, just like that. At that time, I had just lost my godhood and was seriously injured, so it was very difficult to cope. My father and mother shielded me from the men in black, desperately. Changsheng, run, run, don't let us die in peace. Amidst my father's anguished cries, I fled in utter terror for the first time in my life. In that single instant, I lost my father and I lost my mother. A raging fire erupted behind me, consuming everything. I had no home. Lu Mingwei, Feng Wuming. From that day forward, I savored those two names in my heart day after day, my hatred like poison, corroding my heart day after day. One day, I will make you pay the price. I cultivated like a madman, but my injuries from that time were too severe. It wasn't until 100 years later that I reassembled my divine spark. I ascended the heavenly ladder and saw the heavenly gate, but the divine official guarding the gate merely looked at me with disdain. Dressed in white, how unlucky. Denied ascension. With that, he activated the heavenly gate and stripped me of my divine spark. My ascension failed. Unwilling to give up, I spent another 3 years reassembling my divine spark. The divine official guarding the heavenly gate still glanced at me with contempt. Too flamboyant, not pure enough. Denied ascension. Again, he stripped me of my divine spark. 3 more years, and fueled by hatred, I crawled back to the heavenly gate. This time, we require a height of 174. 9. Your height does not match. Denied ascension. The 4th time, the 5th time, the 99th time. Finally, consumed by hatred, I regained my sanity. I finally understood that I could not ascend. Because someone didn't want me to ascend. Because no one wanted me to ascend. Unless I had the power to confront the heavenly gate. So, I turned and returned to the mortal realm, opening a shop that only sold godhoods. To this day, this is the 2,898th godhood I've sold. This godhood I specifically kept just to wait for that specific person. Now, she has indeed come to my door. I hid the thousands of hatreds in my heart. 10,000 years of cultivation have given me excellent self-control. Looking at the face before me that I loathed so much, I could even squeeze out a nonchalant smile. Yes, I'm the one who sells godhoods. Feng Xionyu's expression shifted slightly. Do you really have godhoods? She asked. I didn't beat around the bush and directly took out the godhood I had carefully prepared for her. Her eyes stared intensely at the godhood. I want this godhood. I wasn't surprised. Although Feng Wuming and Lu Mingyue ascended, they were able to ascend only by seizing my godhood. As their daughter, Feng Xiongyu, although she was born in the heavenly realm, was never able to condense a godhood. She was born behind that heavenly gate, but she was not an immortal. Therefore, she needs this godhood. I endured her burning gaze, but put the godhood away. The immortal should know my rules. Feng Xionyu's beautiful eyebrows furrowed slightly. What do you want? What I want, of course, is Feng Wuming and Lu Mingyue's lives. That's what I was thinking, but what I said was, I have a connection with the immortal, so I won't make things difficult for the immortal this time. I only want the spirit jade hanging from the immortal's waist. Feng Xiongyu hesitated upon hearing this. I know why she hesitated. That spirit jade was personally carved by Feng Wuming and contained a drop of essence blood containing a wisp of his divine sense. This was Feng Wuming, as a father, giving a little protection to Feng Xiongyu, his most beloved little daughter who was unable to condense a godhood. But I also know that Feng Xiongyu will agree, because Feng Wuming doesn't just have her as a daughter now. Sure enough, Feng Xiongyu bit her lip. Shopkeeper, can I really not exchange it for something else? I smiled and shook my head. Her expression changed for a moment, and a fierce light occasionally flashed in her eyes. I knew she didn't want to rob me, but I knew even better that she didn't dare gamble. After a long while, she gritted her teeth and stamped her foot. Fine, I'll exchange it. After saying that, she glared at me fiercely. She's just a junior after all, and I didn't want to bicker with her. I smiled and took the spiritual jade and gave her the divinity I had previously. She took the divinity, and a flash of joy flashed in her eyes, looking just like Lu Mingyue back then. In an instant, she retracted her joy, snorted softly, and flew away with her people. The people outside the small courtyard saw that the divinity had already been sold, and they all left with regretful expressions. That fairy is really something. She's already an immortal, yet she insists on competing with us for divinity. I listened to their complaints, smiled without saying a word, and turned to go back to the bamboo house. Shaolin, this house from now on, I'll leave it to you. My expression was unusually relaxed, but Shaolin was stunned when she heard this. Then what about you, sir? Me? I will naturally go to the place where I should be going. As I spoke, I flipped my palm, and the last divinity quickly condensed in my palm. A golden heavenly ladder appeared, and I stepped up. With each step I took, a phantom of divinity appeared behind me. When I had finished climbing the 3,000 steps of the heavenly ladder, 3,000 divinities floated behind me, like 3,000 worlds. I looked at the golden heavenly gate that was within reach, my heart filled with waves. Feng Wuming, Lu Mingyue, I'm here. I'm coming to find you. It's you? Why are you here again? The gatekeeper was still the same one from 10,000 years ago. Seeing me, a trace of impatience flickered in his eyes, along with a deeper, more hidden greed. I told you you can't ascend. This time, he didn't even bother to find an excuse, directly activating the celestial gate, intending to peel away my godhood again, just like the previous 99 times. However, this time, he wouldn't get his wish. Behind me, 3,000 godhood phantoms simultaneously burst forth with blinding light, resisting the torrential power of the celestial gate in an instant. At the same time, I flashed forward, directly seizing the gatekeeper by the neck. In truth, the gatekeeper's own strength wasn't much. The reason he could stop my ascension again and again was simply because he relied on the power of the celestial gate. But now, with 3,000 divine paths within me, I could even change the heavenly Tao if I wished, let alone the celestial gate, which only borrowed a sliver of its power. With the gatekeeper captured, the celestial gate lost control and gradually calmed down. Please spare me. I was only acting on orders. Seeing the series of changes, the gatekeeper instantly lost his composure, begging me for mercy with a face full of terror. It's the Celestial Emperor. It's the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor told me to stop you from ascending. He said he wants you to grow old and die in the lower realm. Hearing this, I wasn't surprised. The current Celestial Emperor was Feng Wuming. I only learned later that Feng Wuming was originally the son of a divine lord in the celestial realm. But because he was born with deficiencies and couldn't condense godhood, he devised a plan to descend to the lower realm to seek a method of condensing godhood. And I, born with a divine destiny, destined to ascend, was the prey he had targeted. After all, godhood also came in varying strengths. Coming from the celestial realm, he naturally set his sights on the strongest one. So, he deliberately approached me, becoming friends with me by relying on a free and uninhibited demeanor, and then swore an oath to the heavens, becoming sworn brothers. After that, while I was focused on cultivation and had no time to spare, he gradually lured Lu Mingwe, making her fall in love with him and trick me out of my godhood. And he did succeed. On that night, when Lu Mingwe and I agreed to ascend, those two people I trusted the most dealt me a heavy blow, snatching away my godhood. I lost everything, and after obtaining my godhood, he not only successfully ascended, but also progressed by leaps and bounds, surpassing all the senior gods and becoming the lord of the celestial realm. But so what? I'm going to kill him. I don't care if he's the lord of the celestial realm. I decisively killed the celestial official, casually tossing his corpse aside, and slowly stepped into the heavenly gate. The immortals and gods who rushed over upon hearing the commotion quickly surrounded me. I advanced step by step, and they retreated step by step. Quickly notify the immortal emperor. Someone is forcibly entering the heavenly gate. A celestial god with a solemn expression instructed the small celestial beside him. I lightly glanced in that direction, then calmly withdrew my gaze amidst the panicked gazes of several others. The small celestial breathed a sigh of relief, and after taking a few steps back and seeing that I had no reaction, he rushed towards the central hall. May I ask who you are, and why are you trespassing in my celestial realm? A divine lord who seemed to be of considerable status asked. Before I could answer, I heard someone murmur in shock, "Sir, it's that sir." "What sir?" the divine lord asked, puzzled. A crowd of immortals and gods looked at each other, and nearly half of them had very unnatural expressions. After all, some things can be done, but not necessarily spoken of. I smiled faintly, still walking unhurriedly, approaching the immortal palace hall step by step. The usually deserted hall was now filled with people. Feng Wuming and Lu Mingyue sat at the head of the hall, their initially calm gazes shaking violently the moment they met mine. "It's you?" Feng Qiongyu said in shock. "What are you doing in the immortal realm?" As she spoke, she hurried forward a few steps, approached me, and lowered her voice. "Haven't we already settled everything?" Hearing this, I couldn't help but find it amusing. This little princess actually naively thought that I was dissatisfied with the price and came to demand repayment. Unfortunately, it wasn't her I was looking for this time. The price I wanted, she couldn't afford. I looked up. "Feng Wuming, Lu Mingwe. Long time no see. Hope you've been well." Feng Wuming's expression also darkened. "Xie Chong Sheng, you're actually not dead." "What are you saying, Brother Feng? If you're not dead, how dare I die?" My lips curved into a smile, but there was no hint of a smile in my eyes. "You're lucky to be alive, but daring to trespass in my celestial realm is a death wish." His eyes were sinister, wishing he could eliminate me immediately. Coincidentally, so was I. So I said, "You're welcome to try." Feng Wuming sneered, and with a wave of his hand, the surrounding thousands of immortals and gods attacked me simultaneously. I stood still, raised my hand to dissipate the attacks about to reach me, then slightly flipped my palm. The next moment, countless screams rang out. Godheads flashing with colorful light burst out of their bodies, still stained with specks of blood. 2,996 godheads quickly gathered in my hand, then solidified into one and were swiftly absorbed into my body. Then, I looked up at Feng Wuming, whose face was ashen, and smiled. Feng Wuming, your celestial realm may have a lot of people, but it seems like not many cultivated their own power, huh? Their godheads, it seems, all belong to me. Oh, I almost forgot, even your godheads, it seems all belong to me. My hand repeatedly pointed at Lu Mingyue, Feng Xiongyu, and Feng Wuming. So what? Feng Wuming's expression was ferocious. Xie Changsheng, do you think the seed is like those useless trash? You can so easily seize their godheads, but try taking the seats. I was slightly silent. I really couldn't take the godhead inside Feng Wuming's body. After all, the very first godhead, I genuinely wanted to give it to Lu Mingyue. But I didn't expect that she would betray me together with Feng Wuming. Therefore, her and Feng Wuming's two godheads were different from the later ones I tampered with. I couldn't take them back against their will. Xie Changsheng, I admit you're indeed a genius, but you're too stupid. Feng Wuming saw my silence and chuckled. Although I don't know how much you've schemed over the years, I should also let you know that this seat's years haven't been wasted either. As he spoke, his figure moved, and a powerful, immortal spiritual force attacked me. My expression remained unchanged, and I quickly exchanged a few blows with him. Then I struck his chest with a palm. Goof. Feng Wuming was instantly seriously injured and spat out a mouthful of blood. I rushed forward, intending to continue my attack, but a sharp pain struck my chest, and I coughed up blood as well. Ha ha ha! Feng Wuming laughed heartily at the sight. Xie Changsheng, I admit your strength is formidable, actually managing to cultivate the 3,000 divine paths. But have you forgotten? This divine spark within me is your first divine spark. Though the 3,000 divine paths are numerous, the first and last are the most important. The first is the beginning, the last is the end. Without a beginning, there is no end. Now, I am the beginning, and you are the end. If I die, you will cease to exist as well. Xie Changsheng, what do you have to fight me with? What ground do you have to fight me with? Back then, I could seize your divine spark and your fiancée. Now I can still seize your 3,000 great Taoists. From now on, I will control the 3,000 divine paths, becoming the sole supreme God Lord in heaven and earth. The heavens and earth may perish, but I will not. The heavens and earth may be destroyed, but I will still exist. Xie Changsheng. So what if you were born with a divine destiny? You're still just preparing the wedding dress for me. As he spoke, he walked toward me, laughing maniacally. I watched him, expressionless. The next moment, his expression froze, and he lowered his head to look at his abdomen. There, a long sword pierced through his body, and then the sword was withdrawn, bringing with it a crystal-clear divine spark. Master! Feng Xiongyu was expressionless, her eyes seeming to be covered in a black mist. Calmly, I took the divine spark and looked at Feng Wuming, who just a moment ago was full of triumph, but was now in a miserable state. Feng Wuming, it's been 10,000 years. Do you think I'm still the Xie Changsheng who let you and Lu Mingyue deceive me? If I didn't have absolute certainty of killing you, how could I have acted rashly? After all, I struggled to live until now, just to take your lives. Before the 3,000 divine paths were fully cultivated, I had already recognized the importance of the first divine spark. So, from that time on, I was waiting, I was preparing. I needed him to lower his guard, so I pretended to be ignorant and fought him to a stalemate. I needed to disturb his mind, so I asked Feng Xiongyu for the spiritual jade containing his divine soul essence. The divine soul essence contained in that spiritual jade was small, but even disturbing him for a single breath, making him unable to attend to other things, was enough. But after all, he was the heavenly emperor, and these 10,000 years were not spent in vain. So I still needed someone he would absolutely not be wary of. Therefore, I chose Feng Xiongyu, the bastard child between him and Lu Mingyue. I painstakingly prepared a divine spark for her, and, The purpose of that divine spark was to allow me to control her at a critical moment, to have her retrieve the first divine spark that belonged to me, which was stolen by her biological father. Feng Wuming vomited blood in large mouthfuls, his eyes filled with unwillingness. I didn't expect that I would still lose. But, Xie Changsheng, do you think you've won? 10,000 years, Xie Changsheng. You have nothing, living like a dog, while I am still the aloof and mighty immortal emperor. So what? I crouched down and crushed his head expressionlessly. Now you are the one who dies, and I am the one who lives. Feng Wuming. From birth he had a fate destined to be nameless. Wing, literally no life/fate. So he schemed and plotted in every possible way to survive. He wanted to provoke me and make me torture him, seeking an opportunity to counterattack, but I won't give him that chance. Xie, brother. I was wiping the blood from my hands when Lu Mingyue, who was standing to the side, seemed to finally react and timidly called out to me. She was still as beautiful as she was 10,000 years ago. Her eyes always seemed to be filled with autumn water, making her pitiable. So I smiled gently at her too. Mingyue, she seemed to have received some encouragement, and her eyes lit up. Xie, brother, it was all Feng Wuming who forced me back then. He forced me to do those things. I didn't want to hurt you. You really didn't want to hurt me? I asked back with a smile, as if I really believed her words. She nodded frantically. Really, Xie, brother, you have to believe me. In my heart, there has only ever been you. Don't worry, Xie, brother's heart also only has you. I touched her head. But the things you owe Xie, brother, shouldn't you return them to Xie, brother too? Lu Mingyue's face turned deathly pale in an instant. No, Xie, brother, you can't. Without the divine spark, I will die. She shook her head desperately, but I only gently stroked her head. Be good. Don't be afraid. You won't die immediately. You will slowly grow old first. Wrinkles and age spots will slowly creep onto your face until you can't move. Then you will die. Don't worry, Mingyue. Xie, brother will see you off when the time comes. After saying that, I directly extracted the divine spark from her body. The moment the divine spark left her body, she began to age rapidly. Fine wrinkles crept onto her face. Her hands, she frantically found a mirror, but lost her grip and dropped it the moment she saw the person in the mirror. No, this isn't me. She covered her face, her expression frantic. She had always cared most about her appearance. Witnessing herself age and become ugly was tantamount to the most severe punishment. Xie Changsheng, you actually treated me like this. You deserve to die a horrible death. Amidst her mad cursing, I waved my hand and sent her back to the mortal realm. I knew she couldn't accept her current self, but she dared not die even more. She could only suffer torture day after day, wanting to die, but being too afraid to, until her death. My great revenge was finally achieved. I looked at the blood-stained celestial realm, but my heart felt empty. I reflected on the encounters of my life and arrived at the heavenly gate. Everything had arisen from the injustice of the path to ascension. So I used 3,000 divine paths to rewrite the rules of ascension at the heavenly gate. From now on, those who ascend must condense a divinity with faith and cross the heavenly gate with merit. Faith verifies the people's support, and merit examines good and evil deeds. I know there is no absolutely fair rule in this world, but who knows what will happen in the future? There are always some things that should be left to those who come after.